Back again, back again. It's your boy Jez and the boy A to the B, Afolabi. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. I'm good. Obviously, just came back from the US recently, so again, feeling good from that. Bit sad because we just finished with the Arsenal Man United game with my team, so I've trying to keep. I'm going to keep my emotions in check today, but yeah, I've been going through it the last hour and a half.
Oh, look, let's focus on the nice time you had in LA for a little bit, right? You spent a month in LA. How was it? Tell the people. How was that, man?
It was amazing. Obviously, of course, we should acknowledge what's going on at the moment there in LA, and it's really sad to see. Made a lot of cool friends there, so yeah, praying for all those people out there. But whilst I was an unbelievable experience, meeting people, played a bit of basketball. I'm still shit, but played a bit.
So when's the move happening?
When's the move happening? Hey, Jeremy, like I said, I'm trying to be like you. I can lock myself up with a beautiful, sweet one. Can get myself a little green card. Then I guess the move will happen sooner. But
Right.
yeah, right now I can only go to the US on an Esther. So yeah, man, who knows? I guess with every trip, I'm increasing my chances of falling in love. So
That's
yeah,
it.
kind of we'll see how that one plays out.
Definitely, man. And to be honest, I came back from the States as well last week. Spent Christmas and New Year's there. It was a lot with my fiance's family in St. Louis. Spent a week in New York, a couple of days in Baltimore, and like 2 or 3 weeks in St. Louis as well, which was good fun, man. I got to see a Giants game, got to see a lot of high school basketball as well, and then also got to watch college football live as well. And that brings us on to our guest, which I thought I will let you introduce.
Yeah, so we've got Blaine in the building. So Blaine and I, the relationship starts through his wife. Again, we used to work together, and Blaine and I for years have been talking sports in the text messages, and I felt, do you know what, it was time to bring him on. He's a big OU fan, so Oklahoma University, father of two. I think I need to chuck there in there, father of two as well. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we got Blaine Hubbard in the building. Thanks for joining us, bro.
Appreciate that having me. Thank you very much.
Maybe we should start there again. Maybe like just kind of talking a bit more about the teams that you follow, what it's been like the last year. Obviously, I've been bantering you here and there about OU. I've been bantering Katie about, but yeah, I think maybe talk through the teams that you support, what you've loved, what you've not loved, and yeah, talk about 2024, 2025.
For sure, sure. So I'm just in local. So I'm in Dallas, the Dallas Fort Worth area. So all the teams here. So the Cowboys, obviously. I've got, and actually I'm in Texas, but I'm actually closer to Oklahoma, the university, than I am to UT. So, and then also just living around has made me just absolutely despise that fan base. So part of the reason I'm an OU fan, not gonna lie. But so yeah, I mean, other than that, so we've got Mavs. I love, thank God for Dirk Nowitzki every day. It's the reason that he's the only bright spot in my DFW fandom. The Texas Rangers, all the local teams, even FC Dallas, the MLS, the local MLS team out here. But big fan of them. I played for the club team there, not like the academy or anything like that, but the club team associated with them. So I've got a lot of love for them too. Even though that's the one of the minor sports out here in terms of that league, compared to the other leagues we got out here. But Arsenal's been a more recent love. I've been an Arsenal fan for about 10 years now.
Okay.
So it started off, I just got like family members traveled to London for just like work trips and stuff like that, brought over at that point, that whenever we had like the Invincibles era. So I had an Henri jersey from back in, like, I think it was like '06. I was familiar, but I wasn't really fond of them. And I really started to pick in like 2014, 2013. I love to watch Mesut Ozil when he joins Arsenal. That kind of just clicked it for me. That kind of honed in who I was going to support. And then since then, I've been just a like supporter. I haven't been able to go to any games, obviously, because it's a bit of a trek for me. But then I'm doing that hopefully soon. But I mean, following as much as I can. It's been interesting though, like developing my fandom from so far away that I don't actually interact with personal fans other than text messages to you, Afo. It's all been just like interactions, like observing social media, which obviously isn't real life, but like, and everybody knows like Arsenal fans online are just insane. Like it's such a crazy reaction fan base. Like I've learned that apparently Arsenal fans are like universally hated team
We're not liked
online. And I know, yeah, I've learned that. I don't know, I didn't grow up with that, so this is all like new information to me. But it was just interesting developing that fandom of Arsenal, especially at that point, because like 2014 to like 2021 or so was not the best of times. So it was interesting, like getting in at that point. Because we had like the year where we came second against Leicester. No, it was, yeah, I think it finished second. I don't know.
Yeah,
It fell off at the end. Yeah. From there, it just kind of like slowly declined. I mean, I went through the Wenger out era, and then Emery. So then, yeah, just going with that. It's just been so interesting to like develop that because I don't have any interaction. So, and I'm not going to just to see everything from afar was just very interesting.
How early are you waking up to watch the Arsenal games?
It depends. The earliest I've been up, it's been about the earliest games start around like 6:30, depending on where I'm sitting.
So 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it was actually worse during like there were some games like when like the World Cup was on where I was waking up at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., stuff like that, or just staying up all the way through. But in terms of like Arsenal specific, yeah, it's about 6 a.m. is the earliest it would be. Those are like the noon games on like Saturdays. That's like the earliest I'll get up. But I mean, I'll watch every Prem game I can. Oh, that provided I don't have anything going on with the kids. I've watched every game. I have 7,000 subscriptions to be able to watch all the different competitions. But yeah, I watch as much as I can. I really am like I know it's kind of silly to say I'm diehard fan. I never did. But I mean, I truly feel like I am. Like it got to the point where it, like the results actually affect me. Look, I'm good today, but I've adjusted at this point. But it was getting the banter era.
Because you're still here, mate. You're still here.
I'm here.
Obviously, I've been a fan for a hot minute now, and I've tried to separate myself from the club a little bit because it can ruin my whole week, my whole weekend, and I was just like, I can't let this club have that hold over me anymore. So I'm impressed that you with it. So well done to you, man. What were your thoughts? I'm assuming you watched the game today as well. What were your thoughts on that?
I did. It's crazy how toothless Arsenal have become. I think I've always like obviously I've always rated Saka, but I think I've even somehow underrated his impact on the club and like the attack overall. Like losing it, everything has just completely. Ethan Nwaneri finally happened, but he was starting to kind of hit the back of the net, and he gets injured. Jesus he finally starts to get some sort of form. Now he looks like he's out for look at injury. He'd stretch it off. He's already had knee issues, so it was pretty painful. Still shocked that they didn't bring any attackers in. I know they brought in Sterling. I'm like, well, we have to do something. Let's just loan in Sterling. He's there. He actually looked like the best attacker today. At least he was at least the only one that seemed to be willing to take his man on. But I can't believe how poor it's gotten. I know that, I mean, everybody's going to hurts and some of the chances he's missed have just been hilariously bad. I don't understand how he's doing some of these things. I've been a pretty steady defender of his, but I don't know that I can it's tough now, especially with how it's to be such a confidence-based player too. Him and Jesus too had the same issues where if they would have any, it would kind of snowball. But I just at this point, like they have to bring somebody in. I know January's tough. But I think it hurt more that like as I do because I don't speak to too many Arsenal fans. Like I was looking online just to see the reactions. Like also seeing that the main striker they were linked in within the summer, Sesko, had like a absolute end today for Leipzig. You see stuff like that and like I wish like it would be really nice to have somebody like that in the team.
Yeah, no, look, I feel for you guys because watching today, Arsenal were by far the better team. They had way more of the possession, way more of the territory. But I agree with you; they just didn't have that like penetration into the box. I feel, I was really surprised to see how badly they didn't create chances. Because being so dominant in the game, you would expect them to have. Half. I thought the first half was really poor. Like Man United offered absolutely nothing in that game. Absolutely honest to say that we shouldn't have won the game. Even still, that you guys didn't create anything. The attack was very negative football. Just bounce on the counter attack. I will say I was quite impressed with not the result, but like the dogged performance, being able they wasted time They got physical with Arsenal. I didn't appreciate Bruno's mental breakdowns every 5 minutes in the game. Look, we managed to get the win in the end, so I'm not going to hound him too much for that. But I feel like Arsenal, they're there or thereabouts. They just need that Saka, the additional striker. One thing that Arteta has done is buy players who can do loads of things. Instead of focusing on players who can just put the ball in the back of the net, players who are just pure midfielders, players. He wants all his players to be able to do a little bit of everything, which I think is a new guys at the moment, and especially with a Man United team that doesn't have a lot of confidence right now. Spending so much. So when I was watching, I don't know if Afo, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. I feel like they've coached out of the game shots from the edge of the box, because there were so many times where I see Arsenal passing it around the edge of the box. I'm just like, I was sitting. I went to the game today, and I was sitting behind the Arsenal goal for the first half, and literally there were so many opportunities. I was like, no, just have a crack. Then the defense is going to start to think, okay, they're going to shoot from the box. Let's try and let's close in on them, and then you can slip in something in behind. But that's not the way Arsenal obviously play. But yeah, obviously happy as a United fan to get the result in the FA Cup. It's a trophy that we kind of need. The league is already over for us, and we're out of the Carabao Cup. Afo, your thoughts?
Yeah. So in terms of to answer that question about the shooting, I think the players are typically in the positions where they can strike the ball are either Gabriel, Odegaard, or Saliba. In terms of in the middle of the goal, Odegaard, his immediate reaction every time he gets there is to think, how can I play a through ball? So his instinct isn't to shoot every single time, unless he gets the ball from the side and then tries to dribble in, then shoot. So
exactly right. I don't think you should shoot every single time, but I think it should be
more of an option.
Yeah,
and Odegaard can strike the ball very well. Declan Rice again can strike the ball very, very well, but again, Declan Rice is picking up the ball on the left side of the box. So again, does he fancy taking his chances from there? You want to be right in the middle or towards either side a little bit. And we're not getting in all of those positions or opportunities to do that. Or when we do try and strike it, there's already a defender there and we're ready. I think for me as an Arsenal fan, one of my frustrations with Gabriel Jesus and Havertz is when they have a moment where there's a little bit of a gap to attack and shoot, they seem to chop and to wait and then shoot instead of just whacking it. Sometimes you just have to whack it. And I think for me, as an Arsenal fan, it's so annoying to watch. Trossard, when he first came in, I thought, do you know what? I think we've got it. I think we've got someone that's going to be scoring chances. And then all of a sudden, it feels as if this season and the back end of last season, I guess maybe he's a confidence player as well, but he doesn't take his chances either. Again, doesn't seem to be as ruthless. And when you've got an attack that's full of no one that's ruthless, you're in the tough games where somebody just need that one chance, or the other team just needs one chance and then they're in the game. It creates problems. And found the game very, very frustrating. I had a feeling it was going to go the way it went, especially with all the misses. I think for me, I try not to put the blame on a specific player, but today I'm going to do that. Today I'm going to call him out. I think Kai Havertz, for me today, let the boys down a little bit. Again, I think there's a bunch of players that didn't do their job well enough. Because it happened in the last game as well against Newcastle when we were 2-1 down. Mm-hmm. I had opportunity to put the ball in the back of the net quite a few times. Even Trossard, again, I think out of all the chances, Trossard's one was probably the best one, where De Ligt came in and then was able to clear it. For me, Trossard didn't show any of that dog, and that's something that we've been criticised so much for in the past. He had a great opportunity. I think Alan Shearer said it perfectly. In that situation, you don't even care. You put your body, your foot, your head, your whole everything just to try and get the ball into the back of the net, and you go in with the ball. Instead, he was trying to keep it cute, keep a little touch to it, and he got cleared. And now we're in a situation, out of the FA Cup, 2-0 down, going to Newcastle, and we seem to struggle against Newcastle every single time. I think we're 4 points behind Liverpool in the league. And then we got Champions League as well, where I don't know. Again, not necessarily feeling totally confident about that. So, and I did a short clip where I recorded and I posted on TikTok my reaction. But now my concern for Arteta is, and you tell me, the atmosphere at the Emirates seemed to be a bit chilled to me. I think Arsenal fans we're getting a lot of injuries. There's rumours coming up. Liquid, as we think we are. So now we have a situation where we don't bring another attacker. Then you have to start questioning, are we a serious club? Are we a club in and about, or are we a club that generally wants to win and are going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, from sitting in the crowd, people were not very happy at all. Before I talk about that, I'll say shout out to Raheem Sterling. I thought he actually played really well today, and he provided some of that penetration I was talking about. Like, he took on the Man United defenders and quite often got past them. So shout out to him. He had a rough period since joining the club, right? He hasn't played that impressive. But in terms of like the atmosphere at the club, the problem with Arsenal is you guys, I mean, Blaine, you would have seen it from your reactions on. They love a head to chop off, and unfortunately, that could potentially be. I don't think Arteta's in any risk of losing his job, but in terms of the support that this club is going to get, like everyone in the crowd was saying, this January we need to get a striker, and even now with Jesus going down, it's even more important that we bring in someone in January. Not that you wait until the end of the season, because obviously the league is at a situation where you can't afford to lose points right now, right? So you got to make sure that you get the most out of that. Yeah, I mean, people were frustrated, but I think they understood. It's the FA Cup. They're not going to lose too much sleep over it. But obviously losing to United was not something that any of the guys in the stadium wanted to experience, especially when United Emirates for a pretty long time now. So I was pretty happy to be there. But yeah, I think Arsenal's going to be okay moving forward. I don't see you guys winning a cup this year, but yeah.
Yes. So one thing I want to mention, and I get on Onana. And this is my first time watching this second keeper. I think his name is Bayindir. I don't know.
Terrible. He was terrible.
Your keeper was terrible today.
I thought his long kicks from goal, like I think maybe 4 or 5 straight out for a throw in. In terms of shot stopping, yeah, fantastic. He saved a penalty, so fantastic. I think Harsh calling him terrible, but for all his goal kicks to end up in a throw-in territory is ridiculous. I like absolutely ridiculous. But
you know what? I actually didn't notice that so much. Maybe because I was so uptight, and what I was watching was whenever he got the ball. So again, I didn't notice he kept kicking the ball out for a throw-in. Interesting enough, again, which is again, I'm not surprised. He saved 2 penalties. So, but I thought it was good, and I think for me, from what I've seen, my initial reaction is I prefer him over Onana. That's like my initial reaction. But hey, again, give him a couple games, he might show his true colours. But today might have just been a fluke. But I thought he looked really, really good today. So shout out to him. And
yeah, he's the cup keeper for a reason. Awesome. He did well in the FA Cup. Keep doing well in the FA.
Stay there, yeah. He should stay there.
Stay there. Enjoy it. Where I go. Yeah, just stay there. That's my opinion. But anyway, boys, one in the bag for United. Hopefully it's the first of many. Let's go on to some more exciting news, in my opinion, which is like, wow. I think having these bowl games in the playoffs is incredible. Like so much excitement. So, Blaine, tell us how has it been for you? Obviously, being over there in the States, how has it been watching these college games?
I mean, I wish my team was involved. First off, it hasn't really been my year for my team, but it has been nice just to see the expanded, because playoff games, in any sport, like playoff games or like cup games, I guess, or like finals, really. Are just always, there's just a different level to it, more importance, more drama to it. It just adds so much to it. So adding those on was a fantastic idea. I think it looked a little rough at the beginning because some of those games at those first few rounds were just complete blowouts, which isn't the most shocking thing ever, because I feel like really with college football, there's usually only like 3 or 4 truly like great teams. Not saying that any of those other teams really like didn't deserve to be there, but I mean, when you've got teams like Boise State, and I get that they deserved it based off the season they had, but like, do we really think that they're competing for a national title type of a deal? But again, I love that they added in those games. It's edge to it. It's crazy too how the seeding works with Oregon and Ohio State facing off so early. I don't know that, like, that's the only part of it where I think they need to try to maybe work on it a little, how they break down the seating. Because the fact that was Boise State 3 and then Arizona State was 4. And 1 and 2 lost first round, but I think they really do need to work on the seeding there a little bit to add a little bit more drama to it, just so that we can have a little bit bigger teams towards the end. But saying that, Arizona State went with Texas, so they performed a lot better than I thought they would. That was an amazing game. It was incredible. Yeah. But it's just, I've loved it. It's, again, I wish my school was a little better so I could be involved in at least the conversation. Not with a 6-7 record. I don't know that that's going to happen, but and that added to it. So that was fantastic. That tied a little bow on it.
But from your opinion, what's been the best game?
I mean, we're going to say mine. It's the game that Texas lost. But honestly, though, I think it probably would be the Arizona State game, the Arizona State Texas, just the back and forth there. It go time, Scadaboo just going crazy. I mean, and like all the drama too is Scadaboo like throwing up on the sidelines because he's just putting everything he possibly can into this. And then just going right back in and just fully dominated, shouldn't say dominating because the first half was pretty Texas, but in terms of the second half and then all like the trick play too, that was just incredible. And to just Ohio State, how dominant they've been. That Oregon game, I mean, Oregon being the number 1 team and then just completely blown out. That was crazy. I mean, I kind of wasn't the most shocking result to me because I mean Ohio State has always been one of the favorites for me. That was really between like them, Texas, and Georgia for me, which was shocking to me that they went out first round. Notre Dame has been.
Sorry, did you not have Oregon going deep with them being the number 1?
No.
I would have if they weren't playing Ohio State. So the Oregon quarterback actually played at Oklahoma for 2 years before he was at Oregon. So I actually was pretty familiar. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's like transcendent. He's not going to like go like the title to me. Very good player. I mean, he's probably going to go to the NFL. I don't know that he's starter caliber, but he's pretty good, Dylan Gabriel. But I just didn't really think with the talent that Ohio State had on just their entire roster. I know Oregon's very talented too, but I assumed Ohio State was going to win that matchup. I didn't think it was going to be a blowout like that, to be clear there. But I didn't really have, based off the seeding. If Oregon had been able to play like a Boise State and Arizona State, maybe that would have changed things and they could have built some momentum there. But I still don't think they beat. Still don't think Oregon would have beaten Ohio State twice in a season because they already beat them once this year.
I'm trying to remember. So who did Oregon play before? For me, I watched that game whilst I was in LA, and it was very much back and forth. Was it Arizona team?
Well, that would have been the championship game.
Big Ten.
Yeah. So that would have been a championship game. It's crazy. Yeah, with all the movement in the conferences lately.
I remember watching that. So I watched that game, and it felt as if Oregon will struggle against a top side. Like that's what I saw. And even though again I think they went unbeaten this year. But like watching that immediately, I felt against a top side that had a great offense. Because again, their defense didn't seem special to me. Again, offense they seemed
to beat Ohio State earlier, right?
So yeah, I think it was a close game. I think it was like 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't a close game.
Yeah.
Oh, say that again. The second game was not.
No, I'm saying the second game wasn't close.
The second game wasn't a close game. Yeah, the second game wasn't. But again, of course, you got that freshman Smith, wide receiver, even though he didn't do much in this game. But again, absolute baller, and absolutely. But it just seemed as if every time they got on, they just scored. Again, they couldn't do anything to stop the offense. But I wanted to ask you, Blaine. Again, for me, I watched that game in a sports bar whilst I was in LA, and again, it was cool to see it full of Oregon fans, and just kind of seeing them react. But for you, when you were at OU, did you ever get a chance to judge games? What was that experience like? If you did, what's a game day at OU like? Can you break it down for us? Paint the picture.
Oh man. So I mean, the game days at OU. So like, when I was a student there, it's different too to kind of compare it. So like when I was a student there, we would have tailgating start 7 a.m. I was in a fraternity, so we would have. I mean, at one point it was me, but we'd have the pledges go over, set up the tailgating. They weirdly shut that down at OU for a long period of time, but they brought it back since. But I mean, we'd start drinking beers at like 8 a.m. Just to get prepped to walk in. They've started now a tradition since Venables has come in where they'll have the players kind of walk. A lot of schools will have they call it the Walk of Champions, where they'll have like the fan base line up and give the players a path into the stadium, walk through. before, a few hours before the game, just to like kind of just build up. But I mean, we'll have tailgating all throughout the beginning of the day, just hanging out, grilling, drinking, just getting prepped for the day. So it's a party like the entire day, especially towns like Norman in Oklahoma, where there's not like the town is built around the school. It's not like at UT. It's in Austin. It's like a city on its own. There's a lot to. I mean, people always make fun of Norman that like it's a small town. Like there's nothing else outside of the university, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like when you're there, I guess. I mean, I get that you have to go up to Oklahoma City to do stuff. In Austin, it's a major city, so there's a lot more in there. But it's kind of all like you're in like a bubble almost, really, where everything revolved around the school. The whole town more or less shuts down on game day because everybody's going to the games or watching. But it's just a party all day. And then it's the one sport I think that's anything comparable to football, the overseas, like where it's such a community atmosphere to it. Again, specifically with Norman, where like I said, the whole community is involved in it. The whole community revolves around the school. Like the economy of the town itself is going to revolve around game day too. So it's just you're growing up on it. There's so much more investment to it. I know people sometimes will say like, why are people fans of college football when NFL football is clearly like the superior product because that's the best players from college go to play the NFL. But there's not that level of connection. Like I am significantly more connected to Oklahoma than I am to the Dallas Cowboys. Part of that is because of Jerry Jones. Get to that maybe when we start talking NFL. But there's just so much more of a connection there. And like, I mean, I went to the school there too. I paid tuition there. Like I like feel like I contributed to. I know that's I didn't really, but it's just like I can say that I have some level of like investment in it. So it's just such a community-based deal to it. And then just the stadium, there's more interaction with the fan base, chants, songs, just little kind of things that we do in game day. Like anytime with OU specifically, anytime the opposing team will kick an extra point, we'll throw the ball out of the stadium. Just like little weird things like that don't make sense to anybody outside of the stadium. Like you wouldn't think that like that's just such a weird thing to do. But when you're there, it's just like that whole community feel to it. It's my favorite place to be. We've already taken my son to games. I'm planning on we're gonna go. I mean, it's about an hour and a half drive for us to get up there, but we're gonna go. We go every chance we can. I have been to a playoff game though. Whenever OU was in the playoffs a few years ago. So I haven't seen one of those yet, but I mean, hopefully we get back and then I'll be able to go to one because that would just add to it and make it even crazier. But
yeah, no, I was wondering then. Obviously, these games are unreal. But then this year they were playing like playoffs at, not any of the home stadiums. They were at, neutral territories, which I think kind of took away a little bit from the atmosphere of some of these games. Do you know why they chose to do that this year?
So actually, so they did do that, but actually what was unique is actually they did add at school games. So previously all the bowl games are held at neutral sites. So this year, since they expanded the playoffs, those early games, that's when they started doing the playoff games in the actual school at the actual school. So you did have that like home games for like the higher seeds, which was kind of a benefit of being the higher seed. But really, but before that, it was always that neutral site. I believe the only kind of like caveat there is that like the higher seeds could sometimes select the bowl that they played in. So like if you had like an LSU, they would pick like a bowl game that was in Louisiana, so that they could have like a somewhat home game, or like Texas would probably pick a bowl in Texas, like they were this year. Like I think that was the Cotton Bowl. So they played in Texas, so they had kind of that home state. FC Dallas has got a great academy. He'll sign up. They'll sign him up.
Amazing, man. And so let's finish off the football chat with who are you in it? Who do you want to win it? Share that with us, Blaine. And Afo, I guess you can chime in as well.
I mean, I think Ohio State is going to win. I don't think that that's shocking, like groundbreaking. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're the heavy favorites. I haven't looked at the most recent line, but I would imagine they're at least a touchdown favorite. Notre Dame surprised me though, so I wouldn't be shocked, I guess, if they were to pull it, because I don't honestly believe in Ohio State's quarterback that much. Their squad in general is just so talented. I've really been kind of surprised by the level of quarterback play this year, just across the board. near tree. Like looking towards the draft this year, there's not really. I mean, you've got Sugar Sanders, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be much in the league. But other than that, like, are there even any quarterbacks being talked about up high in the draft?
And Ward is the other one from Miami.
Cam Ward, yeah, not in the playoffs, anyways. Like in terms of like the quarterbacks in the playoffs, I mean, I've never really been a believer in Quinn Ewers. Will Howard lost his job at Kansas State. I'm kind of been shocked at the level of play. I mean, it's cyclical. I'm sure next year there's going to be some superstars that are going to emerge. Like there's so much talent across the nation, like it's going to happen. But it's been kind of strange to see just the level of quarterback play this year because Will Howard and Riley Leonard, both guys that have transferred. I mean, went to schools, transferred out. Because I believe Riley Leonard was at Kentucky, I want to say. But still, it's kind of shocking there. But I'll say, I think Ohio State's going to win. I would have picked them if you had asked me at the beginning of this past round. Really, at the beginning, I probably would have picked them just based off the talent they had. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I thought originally Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas. We would have gone with Ohio State, maybe Georgia, because I would you'll never hear me pick Texas to win anything. That sounds gross. So yeah, I'm going to think Ohio State. And do I want? I don't really have an affinity to either school. They're both big, historically great schools that have won championships. I guess Notre Dame hasn't won one in a while, so maybe I'd want them to win one. But really don't care. It really was in good about.
Fair enough, man. I have such a loose connection to Notre Dame. When I was at Loughborough University, opportunity to go to Notre Dame for a year. And be a foreign exchange student, I guess, at their university. But I didn't take up that opportunity. One of the things I absolutely regret in my time at higher education was not doing that. So that's why I kind of root for Notre Dame whenever I get the opportunity to. So Afo, who do you have?
So it's funny you mentioned that because for me, part of the reason why I got into American football was because of movies like I think Rudy's based on Notre Dame. And it's a lot of the American football movies that came out that one made me obsessed about American sports, but also made me have that desire to school in America. So like similar to you, I wish I did a semester in the US. But in terms of who I think is going to win, I think we're all kind of in agreement. Ohio State is probably the one that's going to go ahead and win. I was looking at stats a couple of days ago in terms of the number of 5 stars each of the schools have, and Ohio State has a significantly number of 5 stars in comparison to the others. So it's a surprise that they have come out on top. Like typically in pro sports or a high level of sport, the best team or the team that has the best players typically comes out on top. So Ohio State, best for Mike Smith, again, like I said, absolute dog. Even though yesterday he only got like 1 catch for like 10 yards. It might not even been 10 yards. So
it was nothing.
Yeah, so nothing. So again, the fact that he wasn't involved in the game, really, and still they were as dominant as they were, kind of just highlights how much of a threat that they are on offense. So I'm excited for him. The last time I thought about Notre Dame was probably when the whole situation with T.O., the linebacker. Yeah, that was the last time again that I guess Notre Dame were relevant to me. So shout out to T.O. for that. And I'm kind of intrigued to watch. Like, looking forward to. I think Ohio State will take it. Jeremy, before we move along, one thing I wanted us to touch on as well, the Heisman. Of course, there's a lot of chat about who deserved to win the Heisman. So I guess, Blaine, as you being in the States, what did you think? Should he have gone to Travis Hunter? Are we overhyping the fact that he played to Jeanty, who was playing for Boise State in a lesser division, but putting up crazy numbers?
I mean, I think Hunter was the right choice, especially like the level he was playing at both positions. Like that really is very new. Like it's almost unheard of. I know it's happened before, but to this level in like recent years, it's not as common. I mean, I think like the interesting thing about it is that I don't think that I know Hunter won. I think he won the Blitnikoff too for like the best receiver in the nation. I don't necessarily think he was the best receiver in the nation. I don't necessarily think he was the best corner in the nation. Looking at both, I mean, he was at least top 5, probably top 3 at both positions across the board in a power conference. Like that to me is heard of in recent times again. I know Jeanty is fantastic, and I hope he's a Dallas Cowboy in a few months. But a running back one is a less impactful position than corner and wide receiver nowadays at this point in time. And then also just the fact that he is playing lesser competition. Like, again, though, he was putting up unheard of numbers too. He was the closest that he was on pace, I think, to break Barry Sanders' record for yards in a year, which has stood. I mean, Barry Sanders has been retired for a long time. Like, there's a reason it's still standing because it was a record. But yeah, I mean, I think
so less games as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, Barry Sanders did it in less games than what Jeanty did, and still did it. Show how crazy that number is from Sanders, for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. No, nice one. Awesome, guys. So I guess we talked about college ball. Let's talk about Pro Bowl now. Pros are getting to the stage where people earn their bread, people make their money. It's championship football now, guys. It's obviously the best time of the year when the playoffs come to town for the NFL. So, quick round. Who do we have as our favorites to get to the NFL Super Bowl? What are we thinking of? The state of the teams right now. Afo, your thoughts?
I'm hoping that the Ravens are able to get through with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Bills. I'm hoping that it's them that gets. Who do I think on the other side? I always get mixed up with, I guess, the AFC and who's on the other side. Because I know it feels like all the tough teams are on the side with the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills. Who's on the other side?
Like the Lions, right?
Okay, so the Lions. So the Lions have been so consistent throughout this year. So again, I think maybe the Lions. I think what's mad is the thing that they lost their best defender. I guess their sack leader from the previous season, and still they were able. So I think for me, it will be great. Lions and the Ravens. I think that will be so entertaining as well. I've absolutely loved this season. Again, like for me, it's been amazing to kind of see. And I've been a big Lamar Jackson fan since he was at Louisville, and seeing what he's doing, especially when you think about that whole draft process, when they were saying to him, you should be a wide receiver. Like, I think you'd be a good wide receiver. And to think that he kind of backed himself, you think about the draft day where he's speaking to Deion Sanders, they're gonna get a Super Bowl from me. And again, hopefully this year he actually makes it happen. I'm praying for the boy that he makes it happen. And it's really cool. I saw an interview from him this week where he was saying once he wins the Super Bowl, he's going to do a Kobe and change to number 1. So he wears number 8 now. So Ravens versus the Detroit Lions.
I mean, personally, for me, I am leaning. The team I want. I really would love Jackson kind of beat the critics and win a Super Bowl ring. Yeah. I think that would be awesome if he could. But I'm actually thinking that the Eagles are going to have a pretty impressive run. I really like Saquon at running back. I really like the defense of the Eagles. I really love Jalen Hurst as well. So I think they're going to be a bit of a powerhouse. And anybody who comes up against them is going to have a tough toe. I'd love to see the Eagles. And then for my KC family, I have to go with the Chiefs. Being in St. Louis and having a load of friends who live in Kansas, I have to go with the KC. But I do think that they're obviously in a really strong position and they haven't played well all year, and yet they've only lost, 2 games. So I think they're probably going to rev up, and obviously, and that squad is a problem for anyone in the playoffs. So Blaine, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to be boring and say that the Super Bowl is going to end up being the 2-1 seeds, so the Chiefs and the Lions. I know. I actually, honestly, I agree. I would like to see the Ravens win it. I really like Lamar Jackson. So back to like OU again. Like I remember whenever he was winning the Heisman, that was when Baker Mayfield was at Oklahoma. So he had Baker, I think, got second in the Heisman that year that Lamar won it, and then the year after Lamar got second, I believe, behind Baker. But just like seeing their interactions, their interviews, like interviews that Lamar was doing at the time, like that's because I was following it because of Baker. But seeing those interviews with Lamar, I like actually really like Lamar as a person. I think he's a really good dude. So I don't really have any affection for the hope he gets his ring. I think he will eventually. I don't know about this year, but I would hope that he would get it, honestly. other than that, I would like to see the Lions do it just because that's been such a I actually somehow know a few and then that's just been such a tortured fan base. I would like that. I think it would be nice for them to get one. Um, but I do think I'll be boring and say I'm assuming it's going to be the Chiefs again. Their defense has just been incredible, and Mahomes has not been putting up his usual numbers this year. But they just got Hollywood Brown back right at the end of the year, and then it's playoff time. Like playoff Mahomes is going to come out, and they'll whether through either his play or then I'm sure they'll get bailed out by the refs again because that seemed to happen a lot this year too. But like they'll figure it out this year, I'm sure.
They've been cheating. It's like Man United.
No, they're not cheating. Yeah,
Man United back in the day, like we all know that behind the scenes, Alex Ferguson was paying the refs. Like again, we all know that with the decisions that were made, we all know that. So again, I feel like that's a similar situation.
Mahomes is the new Brady.
That sounds like a salty still fan base, but let's not dwell too much on that. Afterparty. Let's not dwell too much. No, awesome. No, whoever wins this year is going to be. I think the quality of teams in the NFL right now is so high. Like, especially at that top end of things, like they are incredible. Even teams like Buffalo, teams like the Vikings. Watching the Vikings play recently, and they blew me away as well in terms of how good they're as well. So I think whoever manages to get to, the Super Bowl is going to be a really deserving team, and I'm super forward to watching it, and hopefully I'll be able to watch some of those games live.
Yeah. Boys, who's going to win the MVP in the end? How you feeling, Jeremy? You go. Who do you think?
Let's give it to Lamar Jackson. Why the heck not?
He gets his third one.
Well, I think he gets his third one. Yeah.
What do you think, Blaine?
I mean, I would honestly. Y'all were mentioning this earlier, like between Lamar and Josh Allen. Like, if I'm really honest, if I had a vote, I might even throw Joe Burrow in there too. I mean, I obviously record-wise, he's not going to get it. I'm not saying he should win it because his team's record was so terrible, but I don't think that was down to him. I think honestly, he was probably the best player in the league, at least the second half of the year, with the how amount he had to just carry his team with how awful that defense was. I think they had like a losing record when they scored over 30 points, which is like even losing a game scoring 30 points is crazy to me. But having a losing record period when you scored over 30 is nuts. But I would. The only thing I would vote Lamar. The only thing that has me kind of hesitant is that he won it last year, and that may play into people's thoughts when they're voting that they want to have him win back to back. I would more. I think Josh Allen will probably no. Take that back. No, I think Lamar will probably win it this year. It'll be close. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Josh Allen. But I want to say too. I think Lamar got all pro voting. I think people default to that too. He won it over Josh Allen, so that may kind of play into it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be between those two. I would lean Lamar, but I don't think it's like a travesty if Josh Allen wins it. Both of those dudes have been incredible.
So it's interesting you mentioned about All Pro because again, one of the stats that came up for me was that every QB that's been given first team All Pro over like the last 9 or 10 years has gone on to win the MVP. So for me, even though I had to do more because again, Derrick Henry's been an absolute beast this year as well. Even though Josh Allen has had to do more. I think you have to give it to the player that has been exceptional. Like again, like where they've been breathtaking, exceptional, crazy numbers as well. And to think that this has been Lamar Jackson's best year as a quarterback, it feels kind of crazy to not give him the MVP. Yep. At the same time, you have to ask yourself the question: what is the criteria for an MVP? Is it carrying your team? And if it is, then it probably should go to Josh Allen. And we think about the record in consideration. He wasn't expected to do so well this year. As great as Lamar's, but he did. He has balled out. He's kind of helped carry his team, and we've seen him in a great position.
Let me ask you a question. In terms of thinking, when I was in the States, obviously watching Fox, ESPN, all the chat shows regarding sports, and there seems to be a little bit of hate towards Lamar Jackson. Like people really taking in how great he is. And this is just from, not an expert watching in. And I'm just like, I'm not really understanding why this is. For example, I was watching Colin Howard's The Herd, and their quarterbacks most likely to win a Super Bowl. And I think he was like, and I was like, what? What am I missing? What's going on over there?
First off, I would say don't listen to Colin Cowherd. Don't do that. But I mean, Lamar he's an underrated passer, but he's also very unique. Like we haven't seen a player like him win the whole thing really. I shouldn't phrase it like that, but I mean, running is a very important part of his game. I know he's not a terrible passer, but I mean the reason he is such a good passer is because the throwing windows will be more open because of the threat he has running the ball. Plus Derrick Henry too. But I mean, it's part of the reason too. Is like it's foreign to people still. People still have, like you said with the draft talk, maybe this guy should be a receiver. Maybe this guy should be a running back. That's still going to play into people's heads. That they just have those preconceived notions that still haven't died, even though the guy's won two MVPs already. That people are going to think that and think running quarterback can't win the Super Bowl. You don't win Super Bowls running quarterbacks. That's just like ingrained in people's heads. Which I mean, to a certain extent, it's valid because that doesn't typically happen. Like typically, it is pocket passers, but that doesn't, I mean, rules are made to be broken. Like it may be a stereotype. Not that Lamar is a running quarterback. He's an exceptional passer, especially this year. Like you said, it's his best year passing. It's a thing that once it has, people will stop bringing that up. But I mean, people like Colin Cowherd are just going to continue to perpetuate that idea. And people talk about it.
Yeah, I think, and this is what I've mentioned a few times. I think there is such a thing as voting fatigue, where again, if you think about it, someone like LeBron should have won a lot more MVPs. Someone like Michael Jordan should have won a lot more MVPs. But sometimes I think it's so easy to kind of nitpick things that they're doing and then be like, do you know what? We're going to give it instead. So I think with Lamar, it's probably that situation where someone for his team. Last year, there was questions about if he even deserved it last year, but he had a better record. So one question I was actually going to ask is, so if he wins another MVP this year, I believe that means he matches Aaron Rodgers. Is that correct? I think he matches Aaron Rodgers. I need to double check that.
I don't know offhand.
I think Aaron. So let's say he wins a title this year as well. Does it mean that he's matched the legacy of Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, if he wins the Super Bowl this year, I would think so. I mean, Rodgers, I think, is one of the bigger what ifs. I still think he was one of the most talented quarterbacks we've ever seen, but just getting the one ring. I mean, I think he was kind of held back a little bit by just the structure in Green Bay, that they're not really willing to bring in bigger free agents there. And then his coach for the long term, Mike McCarthy, is now my coach at the Cowboys, and I don't. No, he did. Okay. So yeah, I mean, maybe he needs that additional one and then the ring. I mean, once he gets the conversations around Lamar.
How old is he? Is he still?
Lamar?
Yeah.
Probably
28. So he just turned 28.
Yeah. So I mean, he's still got a few years to do it, but he's gonna miss it, or his window's closing. Like that is happening, but I hope he gets it this year. I do.
Yeah, I think he has time from an age perspective, organization's perspective, and all the other players around him being there. Probably that's probably dwindling. But yeah, I think you want great players to have chips. So yeah, fingers crossed, guys. He manages to, if it's not this year, in the next couple, he manages to get one.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
That was good.
So, guys, enjoyed the conversation. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Blaine, for joining us. Hopefully we can have you on again once we've settled who is the national champion on college football and talk on some more NFL in the future as well, man. How did you enjoy the experience of being on the TSAP?
It was awesome, man. I appreciate it. I love talking ball. And it's nice just to actually speak to people that actually follow like Arsenal's follow football. I'm doing my best not to say soccer, so I don't know if y'all
appreciate it.
Just every time, it's like I know if I say it, I'm already gonna have stinky ball knowledge because I'm American. I don't need to add to that if I say it's soccer. So I've been trying my best not to say that, but it's just nice to actually like talk about it like in a real sense too. But I mean, anytime, boys. Happy to be here.
No, we appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to share, subscribe, listen in, and like us. That's the TSAP, the Sports After Party podcast. Yeah. We're out. I'm a different type of rock star. I got class and I got Henny overflowing up my shot glass. And yeah, I know I'm not a keeper, but can you be my mama seater by the time I'm done with